Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kindy Rockstars. This is the show that gives you the stories behind the songs from some of the best bands and singers that are making fun, informative, educational, catchy, and occasionally silly songs for children and families. I'm your host, Patrick Adams, and each episode of Kindy Rockstars will feature an artist and a featured song. So let's get to this week's show. Welcome, everyone, to Kindy Rockstars. My first guest here in Season 3 is Nathalia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patrick. So excited to be here today.
Excellent. All right. Well, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got into Kindy music.
Well, of course, my name is Nathalia. I'm from Barranquilla, Colombia. That's in South America. And I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston to do music therapy. So that's how I started. I started working in music therapy in pediatric hospitals and early child classes with special education. And as a music therapist, you're always rewriting songs and then modifying songs to make them work for your clients. So I got really good at kind of like working on the spot and changing things up and creating songs. But when my kids came along, I started writing songs in Spanish because I'm living here in the States, and parenting sometimes can get very lonely, and trying to find the community that speaks your language, that shares your culture. Music became that language for me, and just, the tool that I've been using in my work. So it just made perfect sense to create songs in English and Spanish to share my culture and language with my kids. And it also became a way of documenting their experiences or our experiences together. So that's kind of how I started writing songs for children.
So tell me about your upbringing in Colombia. Were you into music as a kid? And how old were you when you finally came to the States?
I was about, 18, 19 when I came to the States. So yeah, I grew up in Colombia, and Barranquilla is a party town. Barranquilla has a carnival, and it's a big deal. The city stops, and, we have pre-carnival starting in November. We take a break for the holidays and then resume back in January, February, and sometimes the carnival's in March. So all throughout the year we're partying, and you hear our folkloric sounds of gaita and the millo and the tamboras and all these folkloric rhythms that everybody has to know. Everybody needs to know all the dances, the cumbia, the garabato, like all these songs. So this is my hometown, which is like just a total party town of just carnival mindset throughout the year, really. So it's very musical. Everybody in the hometown needs to dance, right? This is why Shakira in her song says, "En Barranquilla se baila así." She's from Barranquilla. This is how we dance in Barranquilla, because it's a serious thing. You gotta dance if you're from there. And then my household, of course, was also very musical. My mom would have dancing dance parties every Friday. And my brother, who's also a musician, we would pretend to either play our instrument with like the tennis racket or something, like the guitar, or actually play instruments and danced and make shows. It was all about show, doing a show for the family and dancing and singing together. So that was my upbringing, very musical. Not formal music education, but just in the culture, in the environment, and everything around me.
So in Colombia, were there well-known children's artists?
So there was one particular artist that I, remember listening, and it was Canticuentos. And they had, that was like what everybody heard growing up. And it's like stories through music, and I started actually sharing that music with my daughter. My daughter at this point is 18 now. But when she was little, I would be like, oh, this is the kids' music that I grew up with. But that was it. I did not know that there was more. Obviously, right now, there's way more children's artists from Colombia. And and creating content for kids. But when I grew up, it was just that's all I heard. Um,
So how did you go about like finally pulling an album of songs together?
I think it was more of like a suggest. It wasn't like my idea. It's I had made up so many songs, and I was singing my songs in the preschools that I worked at. That somebody's, well, why do you have an album? Like, do you have these recorded? And I was like, no, why? You know what? So I didn't do that till my son was born. So that was I don't know, just 10 years ago that I decided to actually record the songs. So like 8 years have gone by of me writing songs until I decided, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll record an album. That's how that started. And it was all bilingual songs, and it was just a mismatch of songs, like it's called From Here to There, because the song had like a song from like a random thing and a random genre, and there was a cumbia, and there was a like a rock song, and it was just so from everything, like pulling out from our household, which my husband's American and I'm Colombian, so it was from here and from there and from everywhere. So that's the name of the first album that we did.
Do you typically take like a English version of a song and a Spanish version of that same song, or do you do them very separately?
Actually, the song is born however it's born. If it's born in Spanish, that's how it is. If it's born in English, that's how it is. And if it's bilingual, that's how it just comes. It's whatever it is. In fact, the song that I do want to share today is the first one. Well, no, yeah. I have two. I'm coming up with a new album, and I have two songs where I did them in Spanish. I wrote them in Spanish, and then I said, I really want this song to be in English too. And it took a while and a long time for me to try to translate it to make it work, because I want it to sound equally good. I don't want it to sound like a translation, or I want it to make sense. I wanted to capture the same spirit that I had in the Spanish version in English, but for the most part it will be a song that first came out in Spanish, I guess. Like in this particular album, it first was born in Spanish, and then I ended up translating it. But for the most part, each song stands by itself, and it came out whichever way you want it to go.
Well, before we get into the song, what does the rest of 2022 look like for you?
So 2022, I'm going to be off touring, this summer. And then I have a big performance coming up like in October here. I just moved to Georgia, so I'm relatively new to the area, and I'm going to be able to do a big performance in a theater, and I'm so excited because it'll be with a full band. But for the summer, I'm going to be in Oklahoma, I'm going to be in Kansas, I'm going to be back in California, which is where I've had lived most of my time. And I'm excited because I'm going to all these new states this year. I already went to Alabama. I went to South Carolina. I had never been here. So like now that I'm on the East Coast, I'm like, ooh, I have new places to go to, new places to share my music. So that has been, an adventure for this whole year. And just releasing a new album, and hopefully releasing a song around Halloween, which is like one of my favorite holidays. And so more music. That's what 2022, and live performances, which I missed.
Excellent. Yeah. Have you had a chance to perform live down in Colombia?
I have, and it is such a different dynamic from performing out here. I joke around, like I said, my town is a party town, right? So here, you go wherever you're performing, there's seating, and people are sitting down, and then they start listening to the song, and maybe if they feel up to it, they stand up and start dancing, or if the performer requests for people to stand up and participate, they dance. Even in children's performances, for the most part, everybody starts sitting down. I go to Colombia to perform, and the second the music starts, everybody's up and dancing. Everybody's up and dancing. And I have some songs that are like stories, and I want to be like, okay, everybody sit down so you can listen to the story. So I am asking people to sit down. I'm asking the children to please sit down so they can listen to this musical story, because it's a funny story song that I have about an iguana in my backyard. And then the music starts and everybody's up and dancing. And I was like, okay, forget it. I would just
Can't stop it.
No, can't stop it. I'm like, it's a 45-minute concert. You're gonna dance for the whole 45 minutes? Yes, they are, and they will. And so again, party town. everybody's dancing at all times the second the music starts. It's very different, but it's been a blast. It's so much energy. It's awesome performing.
That sounds like fun. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into your song. So the song is called Frida Pinta.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the story or inspiration behind that song.
Okay, so it's Frida Pinta. Pinta means paint. And of course, she paints. She's an artist, and I was inspired by her work and her life story, because no matter what life threw at her, she made the best out of it. And the quotes that she has is, we can endure more than what we think we can, or I paint flowers so that they never die, right? I want flowers to remain beautiful. This is why I put them on a canvas. Like, one of her biggest things was laughter. Like, you gotta be smart, you gotta laugh. Like, that was the way she lived her life. And I think it's just so inspiring that despite what happens to you, you manage to create. And I don't think that, at any point was she creating for somebody else to admire what she was doing. No, she was just putting her life into art. And that's what made her happy. She was just living, this honest, pure life of creativity and painting. And I'm so inspired by that's kind of how that song, came to be. Again, I wrote it in Spanish, and it says, pinta tristezas y alegrías, the sadness and the joy. Like, just paint it all, right? Whatever life throws at you, make it into art. So I figured I'd make a song, because that's the way I can't paint. But totally encouraging anybody that does, please use any creative outlet you have to just transform whatever happens to you in your life into something creative and into something, that makes you happy, and that it's, it's also a safe and good way of expressing, right? And coping. So that's kind of where that came. And of course, like I said, I had to translate it into English. And it's like, okay, how do I do this? How do I capture all of these things that just naturally, came out of this, woman that I admire so much, and transfer it into English so that it'll convey still that story and that tenacity that she had.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's check out both the English and the Spanish versions of the song. Here is Frida Pinta by Nathalia.
Tragedy and glory, paintings filled with such reflection of beauty found in imperfection. Frida painted with conviction, depicting thoughts with no restrictions. She always painted from the heart and told her story as a work of art. Inspired by the world she was surrounded by. Feet, what do you need them for when wings are all you need to fly? Pinta, she found the wit and laughter when faced with such disaster. Frida Pinta, Pinta, embrace what life has given, in tough times kept on living. Frida Pinta. History, honoring her culture and her tradición. She painted of la revolución. Frida captured what was inside. Through her portrait she would symbolize. No soy surrealista, she professed. I am the subject that I know best. Inspired by the world she was surrounded has given, in tough times kept on living. Frida Pinta, Pinta. She found the way in laughter when faced with such disaster. Frida Pinta, Pinta. Embrace what life has given, in tough times kept on living. Frida Pinta. Viva la vida. Frida Pinta. Viva la vida. De Coyoacán nace una artista a la que tildan de surrealista, y al mundo ella le da una gran lección de encontrar lo bello en la imperfección. Frida pinta cada pensamiento, da colores a sus sentimientos. Frida pinta la verdad, plasma en un lienzo su realidad. Un realismo mágico la hizo inspirar. Pies pa' que los quiero si tengo alas para volar. Pinta, valorando la risa, aceptándose a sí misma. Frida pinta y pinta lo que te da la vida, tristezas y alegrías. Frida pinta. Frida pinta todas sus memorias, entre óleos escribió su historia. Honra su tierra y su tradición, en su arte vive la revolución. Frida pinta lo que lleva adentro, cada imagen símbolo de un cuento. Pinta el claro oscuro de su corazón, viviendo siempre con pasión. Un realismo mágico la hizo inspirar. Pies pa' que los quiero si tengo alas para volar. Pinta, valorando la risa, aceptándose a sí misma. Frida pinta y pinta lo que te da la vida, tristezas y alegrías. Frida pinta.
Frida Kahlo era una artista mexicana extraordinaria que no tuvo una vida fácil. A pesar de sus tragedias y dolores, llenó su mundo de colores. En sus obras nos recuerda el valor de ser auténticos, del ingenio y la fortaleza, y de amar la vida sobre todas las cosas.
Pinta lo que te da la vida, tristezas y alegrías. Frida pinta y pinta, valorando la risa, aceptándose a sí misma. Frida pinta y pinta lo que te da la vida, tristezas y alegrías. Frida pinta. Viva la vida. Frida pinta. Viva la vida.
And that was Frida Pinta. All right, Nathalia, let everybody know where they can stream and download both versions of those songs and where they can find and connect with you on social media.
Well, you can always find me on my website, nataliamusic.com. And Nathalia spelled Nathalia music.com, or nathaliamusic.com. And all my social media is at Natalia Musica. So now it's in Spanish. Natalia Musica on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. You can find my music on Spotify, Amazon. You can find all those links on my website. And also on my website, there's always educational material. You know, any Spanish song, I have the translations available. I have educational guides for any of the families that want to listen. You know, where the song came from, any inspiration, or even activities like crossword puzzles or anything to learn Spanish through the song. Like use the song in an educational format. It's all available on my site.
Excellent. All right. Well, everybody out there, please go subscribe to her YouTube channel and go find her on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else. And please follow. Nathalia, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been an honor being here today.
Bye-bye.